The Atlantic sturgeon is a North American member of the Acipenseridae family and is among the oldest fish species in the world. It is one of two subspecies of A.oxyrinchus, the other being the Gulf sturgeon, A.oxyrinchus. The range of the Atlantic sturgeon extends from New Brunswick, Canada, to the eastern coast of Florida. It was in great abundance when the first European settlers came to North America, but has since declined due to overfishing and water pollution. It is considered threatened, endangered, and even locally extinct in many of its original habitats. The fish can reach 60 years of age, 15 feet in length and over 800 pounds in weight. Physical appearance. Rather than having true scales, the Atlantic sturgeon has 5 rows of bony plates known as scutes. Specimens weighing over 800 pounds and nearly 15 feet in length have been recorded, but they typically grow to be 6 to 8 feet and no more than 300 pounds. Its coloration ranges from bluish-black and olive-green on its back to white on its underside. It has a longer snout than other sturgeons and has 4 barbels at the side of its mouth. Life cycle. Atlantic sturgeon under 6 years of age stay in the brackish water where they were born before moving into the ocean. They may be 3 to 5 feet long at this stage. In areas where short-nosed sturgeon are also present, the adults of that species can be, and historically were for centuries, confused with immature Atlantic sturgeon. When mature, they travel upstream to spawn. The females may lay 800,000 to 3.75 million eggs in a single year, doing so every 2 to 6 years. After laying their eggs, females travel back downstream, but males may remain upstream after spawning until forced to return downstream by the increasingly cold water. They may even return to the ocean, where they stay near the coastline. The species is also known for its occasional leaping behavior, during which the fish will emerge completely out of the water in a forceful motion that can be hazardous to anything unlucky enough to be struck. The exact reason why sturgeon leap remains unknown, although some scholars believe leaping is a form of group communication. In one study of a population of the species in the Duane River in northwestern Florida, leaping behavior was found to vary seasonally, with the highest frequency of occurrence in June. Economic history. Originally, the Atlantic sturgeon was considered worthless fish. Its rough skin would often rip nets, keeping fishermen from catching more profitable fish. Sturgeon were one of the types of fish harvested at the first North American commercial fishery, and were the first cash crop harvested in Jamestown, Virginia. Other fisheries along the Atlantic coast harvested them for use as food and leather material used in clothing and bookbinding, and isinglass, a gelatinous substance used in clarifying jellies, glues, wines and beer. However, the primary reason for catching sturgeon was the high-quality caviar that could be made cheaply from its eggs, called black gold by watermen. In the late 19th century, 7 million pounds of sturgeon meat were exported from the US per year. Within years, however, that amount dropped to 22,000 pounds. The number later rose to about 200,000 pounds a year in the 1950s. Conservation status. In February 2012, the Atlantic sturgeon was listed by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration Fisheries Service under the Endangered Species Act. 4 distinct population segments were listed as endangered, while 1 DPS was listed as threatened. As of this writing, there are concerns that the construction of the bridge to replace the Tappan Zee connecting Rockland County to Westchester County in New York, in the Hudson River, are causing serious concerns about the sturgeon's ecological stability. The New York Times article http://www.nytimes.com, the 22nd of July 2015. Norwegian group petitions to save a prehistoric fish from modern construction. HTML. The American Fisheries Society considers the fish as threatened throughout its entire range, although it is believed to no longer inhabit the full range it once did. In the Chesapeake watershed, the James River in Virginia is one of the last confirmed holdouts for that region's population. In May 2007, a survey captured 175 sturgeon in the river, with 15 specimens exceeding 5 feet. A bounty-based survey of live Atlantic sturgeon in Maryland's portion of the bay found a high number of captures reported in 2005-06. The National Marine Fisheries Service is considering designating 16 rivers as endangered habitat, which would require more attention to be given to uses of the rivers that affect the fish. Baltic population. The now nearly extinct sturgeon population in the Baltic Sea belongs to the Atlantic sturgeon subspecies rather than to the European variant as had been thought. This species migrated to the Baltic about 1,300 years ago and displaced the native species. The last known specimen of the Atlantic sturgeon in the Baltic region was caught in 1996 near Muhuma in Estonia. It was 2.9 meters long, weighed 136 kilograms, and was estimated to be about 50 years old. A German-Polish project was underway in 2009 to reintroduce the sturgeon into the Baltic by releasing specimens caught in the Canadian St. John River into the Oder, a river at the border between Germany and Poland where the species once spawned. The project expanded in 2013 to include Estonia, where one-year-old juveniles were released into the Narva River. Conservation designation, IUCN, near threatened sites, Appendix I. The American Fisheries Society considers it endangered in all stream systems except conservation-dependent in the Hudson, Delaware, and Altamaha rivers. The Atlantic sturgeon of the Delaware River are listed under the ESA as part of the New York Bight distinct population segment, which includes all Atlantic sturgeon that spawn in watersheds draining to coastal waters from Chatham, Massachusetts, to the Delaware-Maryland border on Fenwick Island. NMFS believes fewer than 300 spawning adults are in the Delaware River population. Just over 100 years ago, the estimated population was 180,000 spawning adult females. Management. Atlantic sturgeon are now a threatened species. Management of the species is largely based on the restriction of fishing of the species. This helps limit fishing mortalities of sturgeon to bycatch.